Welcome to the Sports Angle, live in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. I am your host, Rachiele. Let's get into it here on a great episode of the Sports Angle, January 28th, 2022. TheSportsAngle.com. I have written hundreds of articles, and I wrote an article. The most recent one was about the Vegas Golden Knights, who I have behind me. And I will say, go read all of those articles on the sportsangle.com. Read hundreds of those over the last year and a half. So definitely go check all of those out at the sportsangle.com. Also, check out all of our audio, all 672 episodes we have done of the Sports Angle. That will be on all audio platforms, on iHeartRadio and Spotify, and all platforms we share this show to. And go to all our social medias at the Sports Angle. Go to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our Twitter account, our Reddit account. I mean, there's so many social medias we're a part of here on the Sports Angle. And follow your host at Rachiele for everything that I am doing in the future here on the Sports Angle. Now, this is a fantastic way to kick off this show. Let's get into the NFL. And more importantly, let's talk about one team that I really want to focus on. Let's talk about a team that really needs to have a whole segment broken down and really thought about. Because when it comes to this team, they have a big future behind it. They have a very big decision to make. And that decision to make is what they're going to do at the quarterback position. What they're going to do at the most valuable, important position in most GM's minds, most players' minds, and most fans' minds. So, what does this team need to do for the future, you might ask? Well, you have to ask yourself the logical question, who is the team that I'm talking about? Who is the organization that I am talking about to kick off this show? Well, the team in the NFL that needs to focus on their quarterback situation right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers out there in Pennsylvania, they have a very important and very interesting decision to make about the quarterback position. Because the reports have come out, it is now official. Ben Roethlisberger is on his way out. Ben Roethlisberger is announcing his retirement in the NFL. And that means for the first time since 2004, the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to have a man named Roethlisberger as their starting quarterback. That means that for the first time in 18 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers have to go out and get a number one starting quarterback, and they have to go out and try to get someone who can actually make a difference out there in Pittsburgh. Now, there is three areas and three possibilities for Pittsburgh. There are three scenarios that the Pittsburgh Steelers can go down, and I will go down the rabbit hole on this episode of the Sports Angle, and I will break down each one layer by layer. I'll give you the pros. I'll give you the cons. I will give you everything you need to know about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their quarterback situation. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the first scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's talk about the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers organization could trade for a quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers could make a move and bring in someone with experience, bring in someone who already has played in the NFL, but more importantly, someone with a name. Now, understand this is going to involve draft capital. This is going to involve the Pittsburgh Steelers giving up some valuable pieces on the futuristic end to get a quarterback for 2022. Now, there are four quarterbacks that fit that mold. And I'm going to give you the pro as to why they should do it, and I'm going to give you the negative as to why they shouldn't do it. So, the first quarterback that could go to Pittsburgh, the first quarterback that could possibly be wearing the black and gold. The first quarterback that the Pittsburgh Steelers organization is most definitely going to go after is the Green Bay Packers quarterback. That is Aaron Rodgers. All right. Understand that Aaron Rodgers, there's going to be a lot of intrigue. There's going to be a lot of interest in getting Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay over into Pittsburgh. Understand that when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have a lot to gain and a very little to lose by bringing in Aaron Rodgers. Now, the pro as to why they would bring in Aaron Rodgers, the pro as to why they would make that move is because of the fact that Aaron Rodgers has won back-to-back MVPs. Aaron Rodgers has been successful every single time he has been a quarterback in the NFL. He is one of the most prolific and one of the most successful quarterbacks that you have in the NFL today. Okay? Understand that you're really not going to get anybody near the same level as a Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to get someone at the top of his game for a certain value, unlike Aaron Rodgers, because understand the Green Bay Packers organization, they're ready to move on. They are ready to have the Jordan Love era kick off in Pittsburgh. So the pro for Aaron Rodgers being a Pittsburgh Steeler is the fact that he would be willing to go there. The fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers would have a way in because of the fact that he wants out of Green Bay. Now the con, and the reason why it will not happen, is because Aaron Rodgers wants to go to a team that can win now. Aaron Rodgers wants to go to an organization where he can try to win a Super Bowl. He believes that he cannot get the job done in Green Bay. He will want to go and get traded to an organization that can make him win a Super Bowl. Let's be honest with ourselves, Steelers fans. Let's be honest, Pittsburgh. Does your roster have what it has today to win a Super Bowl? Does Aaron Rodgers, is he the only person that you need to win a Super Bowl? Do you still need to beef up an offensive line? Yes. Do you still need to get a few wide receivers? Yes. Do you need to get a legit tight end? Yes. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a great defense. I wouldn't mess much with the defense. But your offense is a huge question mark. You drafted Najee Harris in the first round last year. He looks like a solid pickup. But you don't really have a legit number one wide receiver that is a number one wide receiver. You don't have a two tight end set work in an Aaron Rodgers system. That's just something he doesn't do. And Aaron Rodgers has had a well-built offensive line almost every single time he has been in Green Bay. It's been a top 5 offensive line for a majority of his career. Go back and look at the analytics. He's been normally in the top 5 every single time. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers to get Aaron Rodgers, they would have to rebuild and reshuffle and retool every single position on offense to accommodate Aaron Rodgers. They would have to bring in a Devontae Adams at wide receiver. They would have to beef up their offensive line and get a Trent Williams in free agency. They would have to trade and get a top-of-the-line center to be with Aaron Rodgers. So the pro as to why Aaron Rodgers could go to Pittsburgh is because he is available and he knows that Green Bay isn't going to be where he's going to be going next year. But the con is that Aaron Rodgers wants to win now. He wants to go to a Super Bowl. He wants to win one more title. And he will not do that by going to Pittsburgh. So that's the first one. All right, the first quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. The second quarterback has a lot more controversy around him. The second quarterback is young and talented and is one of the best football players I have seen in the modern era. But that black cloud over his head is the thing that's holding him back. That black cloud is literally the thing holding him from playing in the NFL in 2022. In fact, there's been a possibility that he might not even play this upcoming season. The second quarterback that the Pittsburgh Steelers could go after is Deshaun Watson. That is the Houston Texans' Deshaun Watson. Now, the pro to gain Deshaun Watson is his age. Deshaun Watson is the youngest quarterback out of the four I'm about to name. Deshaun Watson was only drafted, has only been in the league for 5 years. 4, if you count the fact that he really didn't play one of those years. Understand that Deshaun Watson has been one of the most prolific, one of the most intriguing, and one of the most interesting quarterbacks in the NFL. He's energetic. He's charismatic. He's someone you want in your locker room. So the pro is that because of his age, because of his energy, because of his mobility, the Pittsburgh Steelers would have him for the next 4 or 5 years. The Pittsburgh Steelers would be able to hold on to Deshaun Watson. The con is the legal issues. The con is the 24 allegations against Deshaun Watson. The con to the Pittsburgh Steelers going out and getting Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans is the fact that none of these things have been cleared yet. None of the legal battles have been settled in court. So as long as that is going up against Deshaun Watson, you are not going to see him in Pittsburgh. Honestly, until those allegations are cleared up, you're not going to see Deshaun Watson in the NFL ever again. So we've talked about Aaron Rodgers. We've talked about Deshaun Watson. The next quarterback is intriguing for the wrong reasons. This is a guy who has been with one team his entire career. This is a guy who has done everything for that organization, but there has been reports that they might move on from him. There has been reports that have come out and have said that their organization that he is currently a part of wants to go get an Aaron Rodgers. They want to go out and get a Russell Wilson. And because of that, it makes him expendable. It makes him available to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that is Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. All right? Understand that Derek Carr is not the flashiest name. All right? Derek Carr is not the guy that you're going to see on billboards. Derek Carr is not the guy that you are going to see on your posters, spoon, knife, fork. You're not going to see him plastered everywhere in the city of Pittsburgh. Heck, I'm here in the city of Las Vegas. You rarely ever see his face. But when it comes to Derek Carr, the pro to why the Pittsburgh Steelers would want him is because he's consistent. Derek Carr is a consistent quarterback, and you know what you're going to get from him. Derek Carr is a quarterback where if you need him to get 4,500 passing yards, 50 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions, he'll go out and get you 4,500 passing yards, 45 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Okay? He is a quarterback who is consistent at getting what you need out of him. The con to Derek Carr and the con to why the Steelers wouldn't want a Derek Carr is because he is not a proven winner. Derek Carr has made one playoff appearance in his entire 8-year career in the NFL. Understand that Derek Carr, despite being the franchise leader in wins as a Las Vegas Raiders quarterback, has not made a big impact in terms of playoff play throughout his 8-year career. Understand the Pittsburgh Steelers are known for being a winner. The Pittsburgh Steelers are known for being a legacy, a prestige. The Pittsburgh Steelers are known for bringing in quarterbacks that can win, bringing in quarterbacks that can lead them to a championship. And the biggest con to Derek Carr is that he is in the same boat He is in the same momentum, and he is really in the same pyramid as a Kirk Cousins. He is in the same pyramid as what Tua is going to be. He has been in the same boat as what Matthew Stafford has been for majority of his career. And for the most part, Carson Wentz as well. Derek Carr is a quarterback that can get you to a playoff game, but he'll never get you to the big dance. Derek Carr is a quarterback who does well enough to get you to a divisional game, but not good enough to get you to the Super Bowl. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, frankly, want to bring in a quarterback who has not only gotten to the big dance, but has done it in a successful manner. Understand that the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they're going to trade for a quarterback, they're going to want to bring in somebody who knows what he's doing. And that fourth and final quarterback that I haven't mentioned, it's not Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay, it is not Deshaun Watson from Houston, and it's not Derek Carr from Las Vegas. This quarterback has won a Super Bowl. This quarterback has been to multiple Super Bowls as a quarterback. And more importantly, this quarterback is one game away from leading his team to a second Super Bowl in 3 years. Understand that Jimmy Garoppolo might be on his way out of San Francisco. And if that's the case, if Jimmy Garoppolo is on his way out of the 49ers, wouldn't that make the Pittsburgh Steelers take an interest in him? Because he checks off every box the Pittsburgh Steelers would want. Understand that Jimmy Garoppolo is a proven winner. Jimmy Garoppolo has a 70% winning percentage as a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo has made it to Super Bowls. He has made it to championship games. And more importantly, when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo, he is a strategist. He is a guy who's a game manager. And when it comes to a great defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers, sometimes you just need a quarterback who's willing to be the trailer and let the defense be the truck. All right? Sometimes you need a quarterback who knows his role, shuts his mouth, and does what he has to do. So, the first option with the Pittsburgh Steelers of them going out and getting a quarterback to replace Ben Roethlisberger, you have four options. You have Aaron Rodgers, you have Derek Carr, you have Deshaun Watson, and then you have my scenario of Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I'm going to turn it to the audience here on Sports Angle. What do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers need to do following the era of Ben Roethlisberger? What quarterback should you think the Pittsburgh Steelers need to bring in 2022 to replace Ben Roethlisberger? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Is it going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, Deshaun Watson, or Derek Carr? Let me know in the chat down below. And for all people watching around the world, let us know who you think the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback will be in 2022 in the chat down below. So that was option number one. Option number one for the Pittsburgh Steelers is that you trade for a quarterback. Option number two, you go in-house. Option number two, you stay in the Steelers system. Now, a lot of people forget that the Pittsburgh Steelers have two quarterbacks under Ben Roethlisberger. A lot of people seem to forget that the Pittsburgh Steelers have a young backup quarterback who was a starting quarterback not that many years ago. Understand that they have Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins as their backups. Now, I understand Mason Rudolph is known as a meme, and I understand that Mason Rudolph, throughout his entire career in the NFL, since being drafted in the 2018 draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers, that Mason Rudolph has appeared in 17 total games and only has 16 touchdowns. I get it. But let me say something about Mason Rudolph real quick that would make the Steelers interested in him. All right, Mason Rudolph is 26 years old. All right, that's a little bit on the old side. However, he has spent 4 seasons learning the playbook. He has learned 4 seasons of all their offensive scrimmages, their huddles, their no calls, their no huddles. Understand that when it comes to Mason Rudolph, he has spent 4+ seasons learning their coverages, learning their tactics, learning their audibles. Understand that Mason Rudolph, from a familiarity standpoint, would be a perfect quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Pittsburgh Steelers were willing to bring in someone that already knows the Steelers' way. If they were willing to make a starting quarterback for next year be someone who's familiar with Mike Tomlin, familiar with the Rooney family, understand that when it comes to Mason Rudolph, yes, he will always be known as the quarterback who got hit in the head with his own helmet by Myles Garrett. All right, he's always going to be remembered as that. However, when it comes to Mason Rudolph, there's no mistaking the fact, and there is no denying that his 4 seasons being the backup to Ben Roethlisberger, if they were keeping him for this long, it might be for a reason. If they were keeping a 26-year-old from Oklahoma State who has only played in 17 career games as a quarterback, there has to be a legit reason as to why they have kept him for so long. So just think about that. Think about that here on the sports angle. That the Pittsburgh Steelers might have kept Mason Rudolph for a reason. And that reason is for him to replace Ben Roethlisberger until they find a quarterback that can replace him. Mason Rudolph could be a filler gap for the next quarterback. Mason Rudolph could be the stand-in, the stopgap, until they get somebody who could take his spot. Just keep that in mind. And then the second quarterback they have is former top 15 overall pick, Dwayne Haskins. Now, let's not make any shock about it. Dwayne Haskins had a very bad time in Washington. The Washington football team destroyed Dwayne Haskins. All right, 12 touchdowns and 14 interceptions in only 16 games as a starting quarterback. Understand that they pretty much gave Dwayne Haskins 1 season to figure it out and then just sent him on his way. In fact, in pretty much a 1 season full time, 16 games, a 60% completion percentage, 2,800 yards, 12 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. It was not a good time to be Dwayne Haskins. But then he gets an opportunity to go to Pittsburgh. Then he gets an opportunity to be with the Steelers. So the Steelers give him this opportunity, and what happens? They never use him. They never use Dwayne Haskins for the entire 2021 season. Dwayne Haskins was never even brought in to be taking snaps for the 2021 season. So there is a possibility that Dwayne Haskins is on his way out. Or maybe not. Has anybody ever heard of a smoke screen? Has anybody ever heard of a diversion? Who says that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't leave Dwayne Haskins out intentionally, not because they didn't want to use him, because they didn't want people to know that they were interested in having him be their quarterback in 2022. Understand that the Pittsburgh Steelers could have done this as a tactic to make sure that everyone assumes that Mason Rudolph is the guy, to assume that they're going to go and get a different quarterback. When in actuality, the 24-year-old coming out of Ohio State, the 24-year-old who has only been in the league for 3 seasons, 2 if you really want to talk about it, he has never really been given a shot. He has really been never given an opportunity to be a legit quarterback in the NFL. So the Pittsburgh Steelers could be that opportunity. The Pittsburgh Steelers could be his way of a second chance. So the first option we talked about, the Pittsburgh Steelers, was trading for a quarterback. The second option is staying in-house and having Mason Rudolph and or Deshaun Haskins being the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh. All right? Having Dwayne Haskins or having Mason Rudolph be the guy in Pittsburgh. But then there's the third and very likely scenario, and that is draft. Draft. Understand that the 2022 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the cockpit. They are in the pilot seat right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers have an opportunity to draft one of the top 4 quarterbacks in this upcoming draft. You have Desmond Ridder. You have Malik Willis. You have Matt Corral. And then you have a very interesting and very underrated quarterback when it comes to the guy from Nevada in Carson Strong. And let's also not forget about the fact that there also is one more quarterback as well. You have Matt Corral from Ole Miss. You have Carson Strong from Nevada. You have Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. You have Malik Willis from Liberty. And then you have the hometown kid. You have the kid from Pittsburgh in Kenny Pickett. Now, the reason why they could go in the draft is because of long-term stability. In 2004, they drafted Ben Roethlisberger and had a veteran quarterback in Tommy Maddox. Tommy Maddox was supposed to be the long-term quarterback for 2004, and Ben Roethlisberger was supposed to come off the bench. Tommy Maddox gets injured in game number 1, and Ben Roethlisberger is forced to come in, and the Steelers had the best record in the 2004 season. Well, who says they don't replicate that again? Who says that they do not have Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins start the season as the quarterback in Pittsburgh, and then they have their draftee, their quarterback of the future, be their main asset in the future style of Pittsburgh? Who says that unlike Dan Marino, who they passed on even though he was at University of Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers draft a hometown kid. They draft a hometown hero. They draft a Pittsburgh legend in Kenny Pickett to be their quarterback. I mean, think about the fanfare. Think about all of the possibilities of having a Pittsburgh Panther quarterback turn into a Pittsburgh Steeler quarterback. And hey, worst case scenario, if by any chance he has already been taken and he's off the board, I mean, there is a quarterback in Malik Willis from Liberty as well, a guy who would be fitting the mold of a new school NFL and someone that actually has a lot of charisma, a lot of energy, a guy who would be great for the NFL and good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if it's not Matt Corral and if it's not Kenny Pickett, then hey, Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder would be solid as well. But most likely, the Pittsburgh Steelers would want to go get a hometown boy. They would want to go out and get a Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. Now, I want to turn it over to you. I want to turn it over to the audience before we get into our next segment here on the Sports Angle, before we take a 3-minute break and we get into our next segment. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, which option are you doing and why? You traded for a quarterback, you're keeping a quarterback in-house, or you're drafting a quarterback. All right? Trade, keep, or draft. I'm going to keep it that simple. All right? For all people watching around the world, let me know in the comments down below. Trade, draft, keep. So we're going to take a short break here on the Sports Angle. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the NFL. We're going to get into Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Sports Angle. Welcome back to the Sports Angle, live in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. I'm your host, Rachiele. Let's get into it. Go to our website, sportsangle.com. Check out the hundreds of articles that we have written over the last 2 years. And also, we wrote an article recently about the Vegas Golden Knights. And check out all the articles we got on MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, racing. So over 100 articles that we did on the sportsangle.com, all archived. Check them out on the sportsangle.com. We also have done 672 episodes on the Sports Angle, and you can check out every single one of them on our iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all platforms we share the show to. So 672 episodes, Sports Angle on our iHeartRadio and Spotify pages. As well, follow your host on all social medias at the Sports Angle and at Rocco Rachiele. So if you want to figure out what I'm doing in the future, you want to keep up to date with what your host Rocco Rachiele is doing, go on to my Twitter at Rocco Rachiele and go check all that out. Now, in the last segment, we talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the last segment, we broke down what was going on with the Steelers. They need to trade for a quarterback. They need to go get. All right, they need to do all that, right? Understand that when it comes to trading for a quarterback, keeping a quarterback, or keeping one in-house, all right, understand that when it comes to that situation, there is a lot of interesting stuff going on in this scenario. So we talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers in the last half hour. Now let's move over to another quarterback who might be going someplace else. Let's go over to Tampa, and let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Understand the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization, it might be a tough offseason. Understand that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a quarterback that has all the cards in his hand. Understand that Tom Brady is in a scenario, is in a situation where, regardless of what decision he makes, the Buccaneers are going to have to do a complete 180 on their plans moving forward. Okay, we have two options to talk about here. We have two options to really discuss with Tampa Bay. And those two options are if Tom Brady stays and if Tom Brady leaves. All right, understand that if Tom Brady stays, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to go into cap hell. Understand that the Pittsburgh Steelers, unlike them with Ben Roethlisberger, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if they keep their franchise quarterback, if they keep the person that won them a Super Bowl not that many years ago, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers keep the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest of all time, they have a lot of good players they're not going to be able to re-sign. They have key members on offense and on defense that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not going to be able to keep. Understand that they have a running back in Leonard Fournette. He's a free agent. You have Chris Godwin, a solid wide receiver. He's a free agent. O.J. Howard, a tight end they drafted with a first-round pick not many years ago. He's a free agent. Two of their offensive linemen is free agents. And that's not even getting in to Jason Pierre-Paul and guys like Richard Sherman who are on the defensive side. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if Tom Brady stays, are going to have to either sign those guys to veteran minimums or are going to have to find worse replacements or second-hand replacements in order to make the deal happen. Understand that when it comes to Tampa Bay, if Tom Brady stays, they're going to have to find a running back that's not the same quality as Leonard Fournette. They're going to have to find a number 2 wide receiver and possibly a number 3 wide receiver that has to fill the production of Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown. And Rob Gronkowski and O.J. Howard leaving, if that ends up being a possibility, the Buccaneers would have to find a number 1 tight end and someone that Tom Brady can pass to. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to look very different if Tom Brady stays. If Tom Brady, if number 12, TB12, is still the quarterback, there is going to be a lot of moving parts that are not going to be on the same level playing field as what it has been the last 2 seasons. So, if Tom Brady stays, the Buccaneers are going to get worse because the talent level they're going to bring in is not on the same level. It's not on par with what the Buccaneers currently have. Now, if Tom Brady also stays, that means that there's going to be some coaches that are going to be leaving as well. Byron Leftwich, his offensive coordinator, is leaving to Jacksonville. And just like we all know, when a head coach gets brought in, he likes to take a couple of his guys with him. And when it comes to Jacksonville, make no mistake about it, Byron Leftwich is probably going to take some of those quarterback coaches, running back coaches, wide receiver coaches, tight end coaches. He's going to take a couple of guys from Tampa Bay and bring them over to Jacksonville. That's going to be more vacancies,
that's going to be more jobs that Tampa Bay is going to lose this offseason. If they have Tampa Bay, is it really going to matter if it doesn't have the same team as it once was? Very similar to New England from 2019 back to 2015. Understand that the reason why Tom Brady was willing to leave New England is because majority of his offensive pieces were no longer there. Danny Amendola was in Detroit. Okay? He was in Detroit. You had guys like Wes Welker, who was long gone. You had a wide receiver, Chris Hogan. He was gone. You had his favorite tight end. He retired. His offensive line was battered and bruised, and a lot of them were gone. Tom Brady left New England because the team that was 4 years ago in 2015 who had won that Super Bowl was near unrecognizable when he had that pick six against the Titans in the 2019 AFC wildcard game. Understand that the New England Patriots, the reason why he left was because the roster wasn't recognizable. The roster was not who he had at that point. So if Tampa Bay, to keep this scenario in mind, loses Fournette, loses Godwin, loses AB, loses Gronk, loses OJ, and two of his offensive linemen, they go as well. Who says that Tom Brady would even want to come back and play for a team that's not recognizable? Who says that Tom Brady, even if he wanted to stay, he would look at that Tampa Bay roster as depleted as it would be, and depending on what moving parts they would bring in? Would Tom Brady even want to go back and play in Tampa Bay? So if Tampa Bay, if he stays, they're going to have to deplete a lot of that roster just to keep him. But if Tom Brady leaves, well, it's going to cause a ripple effect. If Tom Brady leaves, are those players who are current free agents who came to play with Tom Brady, would they re-sign with Tampa Bay knowing that Tom Brady's not there anymore? Would Leonard Fournette re-sign with the Buccaneers if he knows that Tom Brady's not his quarterback anymore? And would Chris Godwin get the same targets and the same receptions if Tom Brady's not the quarterback giving him the ball? Would Rob Gronkowski go back to Tampa Bay without the quarterback he's had his whole career? Would O.J. Howard want to stay in Tampa Bay and risk not getting an opportunity to play alongside a great quarterback in Tom Brady? Understand that having Tom Brady on your team is a double-edged sword. Understand that having Tom Brady as your quarterback is a positive and a negative at the same time. The positive is that players are going to want to play for Tom Brady. They're going to want to play with Tom Brady. There are going to be players who took contract reductions just to play with Tom Brady. But at the same time, the negative to having Tom Brady is that once he leaves, once he is gone, a lot of those players are going to leave as well. We saw at the New England Patriots after 2019, a lot of their offense left because Tom Brady wasn't there anymore. A lot of their offensive line left because he wasn't there anymore. So if Tampa Bay, if Tom Brady leaves, would Bruce Arians have to go as well? Understand that Bruce Arians was brought back to Tampa Bay and was brought in around the same time as Tom Brady. What about Todd Bowles? Todd Bowles, the good defensive coordinator for Tampa Bay. If Tom Brady's no longer there, does that mean if Bruce Arians gets fired or if he leaves or if he quits, Todd Bowles immediately becomes a head coach? Would Todd Bowles take over for Bruce Arians if Bruce Arians steps down because Brady's not there anymore? A lot of things you got to think about with Tampa Bay. But I want to pass it over to you. I want to pass it over to the audience, the people watching and listening around the world. Do you think that Tom Brady is going to stay, or do you think he's going to leave Tampa Bay? Because to recap, if he stays in Tampa Bay, the roster is going to be worse because they can't re-sign everybody. If Tom Brady leaves Tampa Bay, then a lot of those players are going to leave Tampa Bay because they had only signed there to play alongside Brady. So we're going to go to a commercial break here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rachiele. We're going to get into a little NHL, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Sports Angle. And we are here on the Sports Angle right now. It's your host, Rachiele. And, we're talking a little hockey right now, talking about the Chicago Blackhawks. And I believe we do have a guest on the phone. Can you identify yourself to the audience, please?
This is your ringmaster Sal from the Sports Circus, found on CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports Affiliates from coast to coast.
Absolutely. And Ringmaster Sal, it's always good to have you on the Sports Angle, Sports Circus, as you do there. And I do want to say this because we're talking about the Chicago Blackhawks right now. And there's been a lot of conversation about Marc-Andre Fleury and the possibility of him leaving, the possibility of him not being a Chicago Blackhawks goaltender anymore, them trading him at the NHL trade deadline. And I do have to ask the question, it isn't should the Blackhawks trade him? That would just be way too easy and way too obvious. The question should be, would a team be willing to give up a high draft pick to get him in order to help them with a playoff push? Would they be willing to trade for him, like a Colorado Avalanche per se, in order to make their team better for a Stanley Cup run?
Why wouldn't they? He's the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. This guy is still standing on his eyelids. He's still knocking everything down. He's still hugging the post by saying, thank you for helping me out. He's still the same guy that has been in the league for damn near 20 years. Look, the guy is a quality goaltender. He's a number one on just about every other team. So why not? Why wouldn't you give up a high draft pick to give yourself a better shot to be more solid between the pipes?
Well, let me try to break this down because look, when it comes to Marc-Andre Fleury, Vegas Golden Knights, obviously he is in the backyard of the Sports Angle, entertainment capital of the world. But when it comes to Marc-Andre Fleury, I have to ask the logical question, which is a team that really needs a number one goaltender who doesn't have one right now? Because everyone keeps bringing up the Colorado Avalanche, the injury that's happened to Darcy Kuemper, the fact they don't really have a backup behind him. But the question I'm really asking is, do they have a number one? And if they don't have a number one, would Marc-Andre Fleury be the guy? Because I like Darcy Kuemper, but would you take Fleury over Kuemper if you're Colorado, if you're at the trade deadline?
All day.
All right, there you go. And
I tell you what, there's another team out there that may not be looking, but they're looking, and I guarantee they're taking a hard look at Fleury. And that would be the Washington Capitals.
oh, how about those gold Capitals? They have, the guy who's going to be the greatest of all time once he retires, and Alex Ovechkin. Now, when it comes to Washington, I understand their management. I understand the scheme, what they're trying to do out there in Washington. But when it comes to the Eastern Conference, you have Florida, you have Tampa Bay. It's very top heavy out there in the Eastern Conference. So would Marc-Andre Fleury actually make Washington leapfrog above them? Or would it just get them to, at best, an Eastern Conference Finals appearance? Because right now, Florida and Tampa Bay are leaps and bounds, probably the top two teams in the NHL right now.
And it's kind of ironic, right? You have the Sunshine State, right? You have nice warm weather in Florida with the two best teams in hockey right now.
Yeah, it is really ironic, don't you think? Also, we're here at Ringmaster South on the Sports Circus, here on the Sports Angle.
I would say that Washington becomes a little bit more solid by adding him. I don't think they're going to leapfrog anybody, but I think they become a little bit more competitive. And, Washington has had their woes between the pipes, and the defense kind of falls asleep from time to time. And so you need a goaltender that not only can get hot, because this guy can take over an entire series. We've seen this. But at the same time, I think from a personality standpoint, he would be a nice blend in with some of those guys that are super gritty. Maybe don't get him to lighten up just a little bit.
I will say when it comes to people who are very gritty in the NHL, the Eastern Conference is very loaded on that end. But with the Western Conference, we've seen with Dallas, we've seen with St. Louis, a little bit with Colorado. But unfortunately, a team that is in, once again, my backyard, the Vegas Golden Knights, and I know your backyard as well, when it comes to the Golden Knights, they really don't have that much grit nowadays. I mean, they have one or two guys, but it's really not a 23-man roster full of grit. So if you're the Vegas Golden Knights, when it comes to the trade deadline, that's what we're talking about here, would you call up any of those teams that do have gritty players on the trade block and try to get them? Or is the Vegas Golden Knights in a situation where pretty much they're in cap hell and there's nothing they can do besides just sit with what they have and try to get eliminated in the Western Conference Finals?
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head. But on top of it, if they are going to make a move, they have to make defensive moves. Because there's still, you got maybe 2.5 good defensemen on that team, right? And we'll give it to Pietrangelo, we'll give it to Whitecloud, we'll give it to McNabb. McNabb's fading a little bit. I mean, but Pietrangelo's certainly seen better days as well. So we'll say there's 2.5 defensemen on that team. And let's face it, to hoist that cup, you need 4 guys. You need 4 D-men to really get you to the promised land.
And is there any team right now that has more than 4 defensemen in the NHL that are pretty much set on that side? Like I know Vegas is, and you said 2.5, but is there any team in the NHL right now that has those 4?
Well, look at the Florida teams, right? There's your answer right there. The Florida teams are rock solid. But who also has a couple of guys that certainly should be available, and that would be the Sharks. And I'm not talking about Erik Karlsson. I'm talking about the balance of their roster. If you look down even on the farm, the Sharks have some quality guys, and the Sharks aren't going anywhere. It is what it is. And look, those guys, when you go to San Jose, technically you go there to retire. It's always been that way since the Sharks have been in the league.
You know what? It makes a lot of sense. Teemu Selanne, Danny Heatley, Joe Fortin, Patrick Marleau. Yeah, all those guys.
Yeah, the list goes on. And so let's face it, the Sharks are a team that, they're not going to get there. And I tell you what, Ottawa will win a cup before the Sharks will. It is what it is, right? If you had a laugh track, that'd be a great spot for it.
Hey, you know what? I will say this about the Ottawa Senators. The fact that DJ Smith is still the coach of the Ottawa Senators surprises me considering their win-loss record. But you know what? Let's not focus on that right now. Now, we do have a chat here on the Sports Angle on all social media platforms, which is where we upload to the Sports Angle. And someone did say something about the Quebec Nordiques. And I actually think that's quite fascinating because there was an article written recently about Gary Bettman and the Arizona Coyotes. And of course, Quebec always gets brought up. And I want to ask you, and I want to ask the audience as well, who are watching all around the world, when it comes to the NHL, is there any possibility of them even ever going back to Quebec, considering the failure of Arizona right now? Considering the fact that the Coyotes need to relocate, not because they want to, but because they essentially have to.
Well, look, the story has already been written. The story's already been told. The Coyotes are going to move to Houston. And you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. We already know they've got the Toyota Center. It's ready. You have a ready-made rivalry with Dallas right up the road. I'm down in Houston right now. I'll tell you, it's just a few hours away. And it would be nice if Texas had their own rivalry, just like Florida's got their own, right? But let's face it, they're already playing in the Central right now. It's already going to happen. It just hasn't been announced. So your answer is right there. Quebec, at some point, they may get a second look. I mean, the city's beautiful, but the fans aren't. In the same way that the Hartford Whalers moved down to Carolina, but Hartford could not support their team. The same way the Montreal Expos could not support their baseball team. Not around we go. So Quebec, I would love to see the Nords back. I have an old Nords jersey myself. I had them back when they were really bad. But guess what? It's a great igloo, but the igloo is not going to be coming to life with the Coyotes. No, Quebec will have their own team. They're not going to get a relocated team.
You know, I will say this, if we're talking hockey here on the Sports Angle, we're here at Ringmaster South from the Sports Circus. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. And I will say their sweaters, whenever the Avalanche do their throwbacks, I always just have to watch. Just because, like, that igloo is just iconic. I mean, it's an amazing sweater. And I will say, when it comes to the NHL right now, when it comes to the game of hockey, you know, I was thinking, like, Quebec, it's always interesting. It'd be like putting a team in, like, Pocatello, Idaho, or putting something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it would be kind of interesting to see Quebec once again. But you know what? I think we need a team of Pocatello, Idaho.
We've already seen the Quebec movie. Let's see something different. How about Missoula, Montana? Well, let's get something different. I mean, think about it. When was the last time that the league has really seen? Oh, that's right, this year, the Kraken. Release the Kraken.
Those crackheads, man. Those crackheads are awesome.
And they play where? In the crack house. Gotta like that.
Hey, absolutely. We have about 2 minutes left here on the Sports Angle. So I do have to say, when it comes to hockey, you were talking about the Houston team. You're talking about how pretty much it's inevitable, but there has been a lot of conversation about other teams moving around in the NHL. And of course, the Buffalo Sabres always get mentioned because, of course, the Buffalo Sabres are one of the worst teams in hockey. But I have to say that the Buffalo Sabres are one of the most loyal fan bases I have ever met. I mean, when you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, you suffer for the absolute torture. You drink about 25 cans of beer. I mean, you live up the entire experience. Would you agree to an extent that when it comes to the Sabres, they are probably one of the most loyal fan bases in the NHL?
It's not even just the NHL. I mean, look at the Bills Mafia. Look at their minor league baseball team. Now, look, they draw. It doesn't matter how bad they are, they draw. But thank God the Bills are a good club. They came up a little bit short because of a bad overtime rule. But those people are dedicated, hardworking, blue-collar people. This is what you get in that northern tier for all those teams, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, hockey. They're loyal almost to a fault.
You know what? I will say when it comes to that, it's always been a fascinating thing hearing about, all these people who stay no matter what, similar to Chicago, which kind of bring it back to the Chicago Blackhawks, which started this whole segment to begin with. When it comes to Chicago, I've been to Chicago. I know that you're from Chicago, and they are, in terms of passionate, in terms of blue-collared, they are the best of the best. I mean, really, when it comes to Chicago, you have to suffer essentially as a Bears fan, unfortunately, as a White Sox fan, and when it comes to the Blackhawks as well. I mean, when they're bad, you suffer no matter what.
Yeah, but you live and die with your team. There is no compromise. And by the way, you cannot be both a Cubs and White Sox fan. You have to be one or the other.
Right. You have to either be on the right side or you have to be on the wrong side.
That's right. That's why good guys wear black.
Let's see. There you go. There you go. Now we have about 60 seconds left here on the Sports Angle. So Ringmaster Sal, tell everyone where they can find it.
Make sure you check out the Sports Circus on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast hotel television in 200+ markets, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, and Wow Cable affiliates. And you can also stream us at Las Vegas Public Radio at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, that's Pacific time, or any of other stations as well. And also check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are our podcasts, which are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
And this has been the Sports Angle. I've been your host, Rocco Rachiele. We have all of our archive articles on thesportsangle.com, and we have all of our 672 episodes on all of our platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all platforms we share this show too. And until next time, I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. Rock on, and we'll see you later. Done.